Hello and welcome to this video. I am recording it to help all of us who are going through the pandemic, who care for children to get through this as well as we can, looking after ourselves and those in our care. I wanted to share some tips and ideas to hopefully make it as easy as it can be. We are not in a particularly easy situation. So much is going on and changing all the time. It's hard for us to manage as adults. It's also not easy for the children we're looking after to cope with, to understand, and to get through. So the tips I'm going to share are really aimed at helping us get through this period with as much ease as possible. So my first thing is be honest with yourself as the adult about how you are feeling. It is okay not to be feeling okay at the moment. It is okay to be feeling worried, anxious, maybe even frightened. It's also okay to be thinking, do you know what? Actually, this is all right. Things are going all right. We're okay. However you're feeling, it's absolutely fine, but be honest with yourself. And if you feel that you are struggling, if you feel you need to get some more support or just talk to somebody about your emotions, please reach out to either those around you or the team around you and ask them help and let them know how you're feeling, because if we don't tell people how we're feeling, they don't know what help we need. So that's my first kind of thing, and I think, for me, that's the most important bit. Looking after ourselves is absolutely crucial at any time, let alone going through a pandemic and being in the middle of a lockdown. When we're looking after ourselves, it's easier to stay regulated. And when we're able to stay regulated, we are able to help our children to regulate and manage and understand their own emotions. If we are all over the place and maybe getting really shouty if they're struggling or really upset one moment and just literally kind of lots of different emotions, it's very hard for our children to cope. So we need to be really thinking, how am I feeling right now? What do I need right now that's going to help me and help the children I'm looking after, those in my care, so that we can all get through this as well as we possibly can. And that leads me on to my second point, actually, which is around it's okay to share with our kids how we are feeling. It is okay to say, Jay, I'm feeling a bit grumpy today. I don't know why. I just feel really grumpy. I'm going to go for a walk for 10 minutes to help me feel better. Or I'm going to dance around my kitchen to some music I love because that will help take away the grumpies. Or you might want to say, I'm so bored with this lockdown, or I'm really worried about it, or whatever feeling you're having. When we talk about how we're feeling and we share it, it helps our kids to understand that those emotions are normal, that it's okay to be feeling those, and also they learn how we are managing them. So that's the important part of this as well. Not just to tell them how you're feeling, but to tell them how you're going to help yourself with that feeling. And that's a really powerful way of supporting them in understanding what's going on. The other part of that is if you have a face that looks really grumpy one day, some children will look at that and that might make them feel fearful. They might feel scared. They might assume that they have done something wrong and that therefore it's them you're angry at. And yes, some days it absolutely might be them you're angry at, but other days it might just be that you got out of bed the wrong side, And so if we tell them, I'm feeling grumpy, I don't know why, or I'm feeling grumpy because I don't know, there's no loo rolls in the supermarket, or I'm feeling grumpy because actually I'm a bit upset by what you've just said to me or what you said to me earlier on. They understand what is happening, and we can open that conversation and show them it's okay to have those emotions and how we're going to manage it. We shouldn't be hiding our emotions as adults. Now, obviously, we need to talk to them age appropriately. But, right now, lots of us are going through lots of different emotions every day with how we feel. Let's talk to our kids and help them understand those emotions. There's a brilliant film, Inside Out, which was should be on the iPlayer because it was on at Christmas. That's a brilliant way of helping kids to understand their emotions. So if you are looking after children who don't get emotions, that might be worth watching, because it really can start a conversation about different emotions, which I think is really powerful. My next point kind of feeds on from all of this, and that is top up your tank. Make sure that you are looking after you. So recognize how you're feeling, acknowledge with your children how you're feeling and talk to them about it, and then make sure you are topping up your tank. You know, self-care isn't selfish. If we are not regulated, we cannot co-regulate with our children. And, you know, our children need us to co-regulate so that they can learn how to regulate themselves. If we're all over the place and joining in their arguments and joining in their meltdowns, and, you know, I do sometimes, we all do, it's much harder to, you know, if we can't regulate ourselves, it's much harder to help them regulate themselves. So self-care isn't a thing you do when you've got some time, because let's be honest, for many of us caring for children, that's never going to happen. So it has to be something you fit in, even if it's just a couple of minutes a day. You know, that is healthy. For me, during lockdown, a lot of my self-care is also coming from having fun with my son. So I'm a mum, I've got a 14-year-old, and, you know, we might have, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of fun in a day. That's part of my self-care. That tops me up, that makes me feel good. I go for a walk. You know, I'm lucky I can get out, I can go for a walk for a little bit every day by myself, just to kind of have some peace and have some space. You could also, you know, just sit and breathe for a couple of minutes. Really focus on the breath. Really breathe deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth, and really focus on that breath just for a couple of minutes. That in itself will really help you get through where you're going now. The other thing that helps, interestingly, with topping up tanks, as well as understanding our emotions, is writing down how we feel. Now, if you're not a writer, you might want to dictate it into the voice app on your phone. But actually releasing those emotions is hugely beneficial for how we feel, for topping up our tank, because it's taking out the negativity and the worry and the anxiety, and it's being honest with ourselves about how we feel. So it hits two of those things, which is quite helpful. So that's really focusing on us, but also creating connection with the children that we are with in terms of understanding emotions. My next thought for you all is focus on connection. When we are home learning, if you are, you might, you know, children might be in school, but if they're at home learning and it's not going well, which I'm hearing a lot from parents and carers at the moment, don't worry about it too much. You know, if a child is stressed, anxious, worried, they won't learn because they're not in the right part of their brain. They'll be here in the basal brain and reptilian brain rather than up here in the cognitive thinking part of their brain, which means that actually learning's not going to happen. So focus on connection with them. And it might be that doing online live lessons with their school isn't really working for them, but watching TV programs that educate them, like the BBC programs or Blue Planet or something like that, they really engage in. So education doesn't need to be formal. If that's not working, and, you know, even watching the telly, they're just like, oh, not doing it, just focus on connection. Play with them, engage with them, help them to feel safe, and the learning will come when they're ready. Hopefully your school will understand and will be supportive, because they get that lots of children are struggling. I know there's some schools are having Wellness Wednesdays where they're all off screens and they're doing kind of other projects and fun stuff and just getting outside, if you can do. But focus on connection. Oh, excuse me. See their emotions. Acknowledge how they're feeling. If you can see that they're upset, say, Joe, I can see you're upset. Are you okay? Can I help? You know, what is there something worrying you? What you say will depend on your child, their age, and their understanding of their emotions. But showing and acknowledging their emotions is really powerful. The other thing that I think is really important at the moment as part of raising connection and focusing on connection is spending quality time with them. When your children are at home 24/7, it is easy to think, I'm spending loads of time with them, I've got a hugely high presence, it's really working well. Actually, that's not quality time, it's quantity of time. And if most of that time is spent arguing over whether or not they're going to play Minecraft or do their maths work, that's not really great time. And it's not creating positive connections in the way that we want to create them. So spend quality time with them, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes a day, when you are totally engaged in them, doing something they want to do and they enjoy. So that might be, sit and play Minecraft with them for 5 minutes, or talk about Minecraft or whatever they're really interested in, Lego, horses, cars, it doesn't matter, but totally engage with them in what they want to engage in for that 5 or 10 minutes. If you've got more time, fantastic. But if you don't, a small amount of time every day where they've got your undivided attention is so powerful in terms of creating positive connections. When you're doing that, turn your phone off or put it somewhere so you're not distracted by it. Give them your undivided attention. It is so powerful in terms of how we connect with them, how they see us, and how they see themselves. When somebody shows interest in you, it gives you a kind of happy feeling inside and a feeling of, oh, wow, okay, maybe I am lovable. Oh, someone likes me. Doesn't that make me feel good? And so often our children don't have that sense for lots of different reasons. So if we can really connect and say, I'm really interested in what you're doing, I am genuinely interested in you, it's really, really effective. And interestingly, when we're spending quality time with them, they start to learn that they have our attention and that they can use that time to talk to us and open up. And I see so many parents and carers that I work with who, once they've started spending quality time with their children on a regular basis, note a huge difference in behaviour sometimes, in their child's need for attention, because they know they're going to get it, so they don't need to go and seek it in quite the same way. And sometimes they realise that they don't need those more negative, possibly challenging behaviours in order to get attention. So it really is worth doing it in a way that works for you and the children in your care, and that will be different for every family. Listen to them is another way of raising connection. Even if it's something you don't want to hear, if it's something that is negative, if it's something that is hurtful, hear them and acknowledge them. Acknowledging them is different to agreeing with them, and it's incredibly powerful. So, for example, if they shout, I hate you, our natural reaction is often to say something like, oh, that's not a nice thing to say. You shouldn't say that. I don't feel like that about you. Trying to avoid that. When they shout, I hate you, try and say something back like, oh, you hate me. I'm so sorry that's how you feel. It's not how I feel, but, can you tell me a bit more about that feeling? Or you might just want to say, oh, I'm sorry you hate me. I'm sorry that's how you feel. When we hear them and acknowledge them, it's a very good way of de-escalating a potentially escalating situation. But again, it gives us that feel-good feeling inside. Somebody's listening to me. Somebody's hearing me. They're not telling me my emotions rubbish or my thoughts are rubbish. They are genuinely interested in how I'm feeling and what I'm saying. And again, that has that feel-good factor that's really positive for our children. Part of creating connection is knowing how they are feeling. And as I've said, if home learning isn't working, change how you're doing it. Because that's also showing them that we can see they are struggling. Now, obviously, there is a difference between genuinely struggling with it and teenage, I can't really be bothered with this-ness. So there is a slight line there, and it's a difficult one sometimes to pick out. But also, even if you've got a teenager who's more in that can't be bothered camp, don't start an argument with them. Take the pressure off. Say, do you know, I can trust you to get this work done. I know it's going to get done. If you need help, I'm here. Or Jo, I can see you're struggling a bit getting your schoolwork done. How can I help you with it? The word you use will depend on the child and the relationship you have with them. But take the pressure off and help them. None of us work brilliantly when we've got so much pressure on us. And let's be honest, it's a bit boring at the moment. We're not getting to see our mates, we're not getting to play, we're not doing all of that stuff. So children are getting a little bit bored. I'm getting a little bit bored. It's also hard at school because they're not getting the interaction that they would. Normally they'll have a couple of lessons, they'll have a break, they'll get time to play with their mates and chat and chill out, then they have a few more lessons. That break time doesn't happen in the same way when they're online learning. And I think that's the big part for a lot of our children. They're missing that connection. So we need to try and create that as much as we can at home in a fun, friendly way. My next part is around staying calm. So part of creating connection is understanding how they're feeling. And that if they start to escalate or go into a meltdown, we stay calm as much as is possible. And I know that's not always easy, but it also relates back to looking after yourself and topping up your own tank. Because if you are running on empty, if you're running on fumes, staying calm when they're escalating is so much harder. So, self-care is really important to enable you to stay calm when they're escalating. If we focus on connection, if we focus on looking after ourselves, we will get to those escalations less frequently. It won't be an overnight change, but it will take time. If they are escalating, then really think about how you can stay calm in the moment and how you can do the things I've talked about. Recognize how they're feeling. Listen and acknowledge what they're saying. Do things that help everybody to regulate in the moment so that you are co-regulating with them. When we do those things, we can reduce the escalation. We can calm it down. We can help to regulate them more quickly and stop it becoming maybe a much bigger meltdown. I've got a lot more resources on this on my website or in my free Facebook group. So if you want to come and join us, if you're struggling with this, absolutely come and join us. The Facebook group is called Connective Parenting Using MVR, and you are welcome to come and join. And I've done some videos on managing meltdowns, and there's a lot kind of on connection and lots of other things in there. So you're welcome to come and join us. Those are kind of the 6 points I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to keep it short and simple because I know that there's lots going on in our lives at the moment. So just a reminder, be honest with yourself about how you are feeling, and if you are struggling, reach out for help. It's not a weakness, it's a strength, and we all need help in different ways right now, and that's okay. Talk to your children about how you are feeling, or the children in your care. Talk to your friends and family, let them know, particularly the children, that your grumpy face isn't because of them necessarily. Or if it is, let them know. Use age appropriate language to share how you're feeling and how you're going to resolve the feeling that you have. That's also important in terms of their learning for them and how to manage their own emotions. Keep your tank topped up. Do what you need to do to top it up that's viable. And remember, having fun with the kids, that tops up your tank. So that's, that's lots of good things to do there. Focus on connection. See their emotions, hear them, spend time with them. All of those things will help you move forward. And then when it comes to home learning, if it's not working, tweak it, change it, do what you need to do to create a safe, calm atmosphere at home. If it's not, they're not going to be learning very much anyway. So if online lessons don't work, do those other things and focus on, creating connection. That might be getting them to bake a cake. There's a bit of maths involved, working out things and counting things, do different things that create connection and teach them life skills if the more sort of formal version of online learning in terms of from a school perspective isn't working. And finally, try and stay calm if they're escalating. The more we can stay regulated, the easier it is to regulate our children. And as I've said, if we do all the things before, the first kind of 5 things that I've suggested, then hopefully we'll get to those escalations less frequently. But when we do, it will be easier to regulate. So those are my kind of 6 points to help you at the moment. I hope this has been helpful. As I've said, come and join me in my free Facebook group. I'm a parent myself and I work with families all over the UK and internationally, helping them when they are struggling at home. There's no judgment, there's no telling you how to do it, because we know what to do, we just need support. And I think when we band together, we create that village around ourselves that we all need, particularly at the moment. So you are welcome to come join me in the free Facebook group, which is Connected Parenting Using MVR, or there's more details on my website, and I will put links to those as well with the video so that you've got them all. That is all for now. Look after yourselves, and I will see you all soon. Bye.